Alright guys, so finally this 74 260Z is ready to paint. Just a pretext on this job. This is what I consider a really nice driver quality car. I've done these jobs multiple ways. Completely taking them apart. Even further, this car has been apart and blasted in prime, but I put it back together. I like the way it fits. I like the way the openings are working and function right now. So that's why I'm choosing on this car to paint it as is. I don't want to risk these doors coming back off and getting scratched up, putting it back together. So just some context on why this car is getting jammed out altogether. The customer assembled this car, brought it to me. It was blasted down. I'm basically doing the paint job on the body, and he's kind of restoring his owner's suspension. And once the car leaves, it'll be all bolted together and rolling out of here for the customer to reassemble and get on the road himself. So that's just a bit of context on why I'm doing this job this way. It's not necessarily a Concours restoration 1000% show car. It's going to be a really nice driver quality restoration paint job. So what did I do before I consider this thing ready for paint? Just to give you guys a checklist, I just got done with pre-clean. So anywhere that my bare skin is touched with the oils of my skin, I want to get this thing wiped down with pre-clean to get any oils removed from the surface, because that will cause the problems with the paint, fish eyes. So just kind of give you guys a heads up, a little tip on that. Some guys like to use tack rags to get some dry dust picked up off with the tack rags. There's nothing wrong with that. I've personally had more problems out of them than I have success. So I don't usually use a tack rag. I just use paper towels, wipe it down with pre-clean, wipe it down until all the residue, you can kind of see that white. I make sure all the residue is off the surface. And then before spraying, I'll just kind of lightly blow it with air to make sure there's no dry dust on the surface. So I used a product. Some vehicles I would use a sealer all over it. For this particular job, I don't want to have a sealer sitting on this car very wet and collecting trash and dust from all the the cavity of the car, and I don't want a lot of trash to get into my sealer that's really thick and hard to get out. So I used the R&M product. It's a spot prime in a spray can. It's a 1K. Just anywhere where there's some bare metal showing that's easy to sand on these edges. You can see where it might have went through on the 320 a little bit, and then I come back just very lightly with that R&M spot prime just to hit, make sure I've sealed off like that was a bare metal spot right there. You can see it's just under that 1K primer, just to make sure I've got it like that was a bare metal spot that I primed over, just to make sure that the base coat's not going on bare metal. It's a real thin 1K spot prime R&M makes. Really good product. And so you can see I went around this arch in this body line that was really easy to sand through to the bare metal right there, but that primer has kind of got it sealed off. So that's what I did about that. Pretty clean. Just to give you guys another checklist on what to do before you paint your car, I drained all the moisture out of my air compressor. If you have any, like I've just got this hose coming through the wall from the other side, but where the air compressor is plumbed in, there's a drain on the air line. If you have that, it needs to be drained. I've never had problems with oil coming through my lines. If you do, you really need to consider getting that fixed, really. But they make these separators and regulators to drain oil out of and moisture. So that's just a checklist pre-paint. If you're painting your car, particularly an old car like this, that you really don't want to, you really want to get it right the first time. So that's just up to this point what got it here, and stand by and we'll be spraying some blue paint on it. Alright, so here the car is completely covered with a base coat. Just to give you my process, I lightly dust a first coat of base all over the car. Starting with the edges, I'll trim out all the edges and, open the doors, blow the jams, get up under the hood and all the edges of the fenders, the edges of the panels, trunk jam, all that kind of stuff first. Blow paint up in that gas lid, and I'll lightly dust the entire car with what I consider a tack coat of base coat. I don't pour it on real heavy on that first coat. I just kind of put a dry spray on there to get some adhesion going to the primer. The next coat I'll more heavily apply to get good coverage of the color. I'll do that trying not to run the base coat, but get it covered enough to cover it entirely. And then the third coat, I will lightly dust the metallic flake where it lays on top of the wet coat of base. Here you'll see the clear coat, where I basically do the same thing. The first coat of clear I'm going to apply to the jams first and lightly get that first coat on there. Just a good sticky coat of clear. I'm not trying to make it look super heavy or wet on the first coat. Just get that first coat on there and then give it some dry time, particularly with this temperature. Even though I had the booth around 70 degrees, and this is a 2-to-1 clear, a Euro clear, super thick. I spray with a 1.7 millimeter head. That's how thick this clear is. So the second coat is when I come back and heavily, or I say heavily, I apply it thick and wet to achieve the look I want, and then walk away from it for approximately 30 more minutes and let it flash. There's a little run where I got it so heavy. On that third coat, I really pour it on there, so to speak. I actually got a couple runs in this car that's got to be water sanded down, but I think any painter will tell you that it's a lot easier to get that. If it's got too much, and those runs are a lot easier to deal with than the like dry spray where it's rough and don't have enough material on it. So turned out really good. I appreciate you guys tuning in. The owner is going to get this car back and put his own build. He's going to assemble it himself. It'll get basically the body put together, and the customer is going to bring his suspension that he's restored back to the shop and get it bolted up under the car. So he's got a complete roller to assemble. But that's Pacific Blue Nissan 307. And I hope you guys like it. Thanks.